Welcome to See You at the Table, where stories meet grace. Here we gather, not just to speak, but to listen. If you want to witness how God brings people together from all around the world through powerful testimonies, tune in and see you at the table. Here's today's host.
All right. Okay, so welcome to See You at the Table. This is another episode. We have a special guest. First, Trent is with us. Maybe you can say. Well, this is Ian. I come from Chile. And we have, again, a new guest. Tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, so I'm Nick Bloodworth. I'm the Director of Counseling Services here on campus.
Yeah, Nick is in charge of a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and, man, you're getting your doctorate right now, right? Or have you got it yet?
Well, I'm starting my dissertation, so hopefully by next December 2026 I'll be finished.
You're in the crazy spot right now. Yeah. What's your thesis like?
So it's looking at domestic violence and just trying to create some new training opportunities for clinicians. It's
cool.
not kind of mandated yet on a consistent basis, so something I feel needs to be. So
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Yeah. Dr. Nick.
Doctor Nick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you're working on yours, aren't
I
you?
am. Hopefully I'll be done just a little. The classes ended up being sequential and are taking a little longer, but it should be that fall. So like a semester after you, I should be wrapping it up. And so hopefully, we'll be done. I found that doing a doctorate is basically just enduring, like just keep chipping away at it, and eventually it's gone. But if you don't know, Director of Counseling covers so many things and so many spaces, not just here on main campus, but our other spaces as well, telehealth, a lot of different things. And so, man, we're so glad you're with us and such an impactful person on this campus. Yeah.
So tell us about yourself. How did you get to Campbellsville University? When did everything started?
Oh, yeah. The story.
Back in 2007, Coach Cross recruited me to come play football. So I played football for a little bit before some injuries and things. Graduated in 2010. Went off to get my first master's in psychology, then came back to Kentucky. That was in Colorado. Came back to Kentucky, met my now wife.
Why the laugh there? Is there a side story to that?
No. I was always from a bigger city, so I'd never envisioned being somewhere small town.
Yeah.
So, we had our first child around that time, and so I ended up coming to Campbellsville to get my second master's in marriage and family therapy. And
Wow.
man, I want to say 2013 or 14, somewhere along those lines. And then a couple of years ago, was starting my journey for providing clinical supervision. And the executive director, Tony, had asked if I wanted to come on board and kind of work with some athletes and provide some later hours for students, which is something I've kind of had a passion for, working with athletes. And so January 2023, here I am working as a counselor on campus.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And from a faith perspective, how did everything started? Were you born in a Christian family? Or are you a convert? Tell us about that as well.
So growing up, I grew up where domestic violence was a part of my reality, unfortunately. So, but in the midst of all that chaos, my grandmother was a constant. And so growing up in the South, going to church on Sundays, you were there all day.
Oh, wow.
All day.
Seriously, like all day?
All day. Morning, afternoon, evening. So as a kid, I didn't quite understand it, because you're like, man, it's the weekends. Like, I want to have
Let's go
fun.
play, yeah.
Yeah. But as I got older, I realized church just wasn't a tradition for her. It was an anchor. And I think over time it became an anchor for me, a place of hope rather than fear. That was something that consumed. And then when I came to Campbellsville, that was a part of my life. It maintained a part of my life as well. So it's something that's just kind of stuck. So even though it seemed a little unfair in my childhood, as I get older, I realize how valuable it is.
And when did you realize that it was valuable?
Great question.
Probably while I was here, during my bachelor's, was still navigating some of the side effects of growing up in a domestic violence home. So some coaches took me under their wings, and faith just really became an integral part of my life, and trying to learn and navigate love and healing. So
Especially, with injury, maybe I would think that to deal with that injury, having an anchor might have been very important, right? I don't know if that had a positive or a negative impact in your faith, because you mentioned you had an injury, correct?
Yeah.
How did you deal with it?
If
Some people may actually get like angry with God. They may tell him, "Hey, what is this happening to me?" But then you realize that it was for your good, maybe. So
at that time, the seed was already beginning to be planted about if football was something I was really passionate about, and wanted to keep doing versus just passing time. So the injury didn't do much but reinforce the decision I was probably already going to make. At that point, I'd already been through some heavy stuff, and relied more on my support and community rather than, football. So,
okay.
What was your injury, by the way?
well, I have a plate in my hand, but also
man.
messed up my shoulder and my knee. So I ended up having to have some knee surgery.
Yeah. So you guys kind of share that in as a volleyball player, but had an injury as well. And that's, you're speaking a language for, especially for Campbellsville University students specifically. We have 75-80% of our students are student athletes. And so that challenge, which is a real heartstring, I think you said, of you, of really reaching those athletes and making opportunities available to them, like the late night counseling sessions, that sort of thing. How do you think sports played a role in that, even because I think sports are always part of our journey and intertwined in that is faith, like with the domestic violence and just kind of the rough situations. Did sports play any kind of role in that journey for you, even working through that or walking through that in any kind of way?
Place I got my anger out.
Okay.
Probably not the best of ways to deal with it. But
Yeah.
At a young age, as a young man, that was a way for me to kind of cope.
To kind of get it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually, I was talking to Coach Russell, football right now, and that's a question that I get from athletes, believe it or not, is especially football ones, how do I be aggressive and yet also Christ-like at the same time? It's a very interesting question because that is a unique sport in that sense, Not all sports are. I mean, there's a level of aggression, but the contact is different for sure. Yeah, man, yeah. Go ahead.
Have the magic for that.
I don't either. I keep looking for somebody to give me a really, really good one. But
So again, what is like now a special topic or an aspect that you think that stands out from your faith journey? Maybe if you think or look back on your faith.
Resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah, I think faith taught me resilience. Like even walking in counseling gave me tools to help others. It gave me tools to learn how to navigate certain parts of healing. But I think faith taught me resilience.
So I guess that now also your faith is related to your field, because. So, tell us about maybe your field. What do you do? Because maybe your area is quite wide and you cannot cover everything you do, or maybe you can. And then tell us how your faith maybe is intertwined with this.
Yeah, so I think faith shaped how I eventually would become a man in life. And my field, counseling, helps me to work with students in navigating stress, identity, anxiety, the pressures that they may face, whether that's depression, academic, breakup, different things of that nature. There's a lot that we do, but most important, I think, is just providing services for students to work through whatever obstacles they may face that they just need a little bit of support. So we get to join them on their journey to improving themselves.
Have you seen any difference on the evolution or maybe the improvement that Christian students have versus non-believers?
Oh, wow, that was a deep question.
I think sometimes people believe or have the belief that therapy and faith don't go together, but they're best served together. Faith can teach you to, be strong. It gives you a sense of support, but the counseling is the process. It's the process to walking through some healing, and they can coincide. We all need some level of support, some level of belief in something higher than ourselves. But just because we have faith doesn't mean that I still don't need help. Doesn't mean that I'm weak for needing help. And I think that's some things we hear a lot is, well, if I have my faith, doesn't it make me weak if I still need therapy? And absolutely not.
Mm-hmm. The funny thing about that idea is, faith ultimately leads you to a place of humility, realizing that you can't do it on your own and you're naturally dependent to God. And so, even that idea of, I'm strong because of my faith is really kind of flawed, because in our weakness, He is strong. What would you say is, and this is tough because I think there's a lot of general answers, but observationally, doing counseling with young adults for quite a while, what do you see are some of the major themes, some of the things that kind of rise to the top that people are walking through that seem maybe a common thread?
I would definitely say pressure to succeed. Success looks different for everybody. So, one thing I always tell people is, because it's comparison, right? Other people are here, and this is where I'm trying to be. And, I always tell people, don't judge someone where they're at, because you don't know what it took for them to get there. Regardless of where they may be, I don't know what it took for them to get there.
That's huge.
So it's not important for me to compare myself, or fair even to compare myself to where someone's at, because all you might see is the success. And even if you take it on the flip side, what if someone is not doing well? Let's say they're sleeping in a car.
Yeah.
What if yesterday they were sleeping under a bridge?
Yeah. Yeah.
So today they're doing a little bit better. So it's important that students realize that something that we see is that, you have to take your journey yourself. There's no rush to kind of get to the end. I always joke with some of the students that they're trying to be 40 when they're
don't rush that at all. Don't rush that. Yeah.
So just enjoy the process is what I would remind students of in those. But outside of that, I would definitely say some family dysfunction. Trying to break away from some of the unhealthy dynamics that they learned growing up is some common things that we see.
Yeah, that family structure. I mean, your master's family marriage, and right? Yeah. So my wife's a counselor, and that was her area as well. And it is crazy just how much is impacted by the core unit of the family, And what even is more amazing, how we ignore that a lot in life, or even just learning to articulate that. Like, you might feel something, but learning how to actually explain what that is and be able to delineate and kind of then make sense of those things, why I'm doing this, or kind of how did I get here, are really important. And that's why I just really encourage people, the whole idea of counseling. You mentioned a process, that working through, that walking through is part of that discipleship process of growing in your faith and learning and growing in those ways. And it is something that I think sometimes people are robbing themselves of in those opportunities. What do you say, like, average college student here, what's their biggest obstacles and barriers to getting help for mental health and that sort of thing?
Stigma, whether it's cultural, some are like, well, my family, will my parents find out, because I really don't want them to find out, because, they might look down on me, or
do parents get notified when a student goes to counseling, or
it's all confidential, right? Yeah.
Okay, good.
They're adults, so we don't have to report anything or notify parents at all. I would say that, and some people are, we've had some report that they're just afraid of what they don't know yet, what's holding them back, and if we unlock something that they're not prepared for, does that cause some type of regression? So I would say those. We've tried to reduce a lot of the other barriers while we're open till 9 p.m. during the school years, the academic year, so that students can come at a later time. We're trying to reduce as many barriers as possible.
That's huge. Yeah, I often explain, in campus ministries, kind of our goal is to, we can't make anybody grow in their faith or change, force feed anything, but, we can create a space for that growth to happen. It's like cultivating really good ground. And I think, those moves to even make counseling available at different times and slots is kind of very much like that. I'm preparing the ground and making space available for really cool things to happen. And I don't want to. I feel like you're on the edge of your seat about to say something.
Well,
I could see it. I could feel it. I could sense it in my soul.
You're feeling right.
Yeah.
So, again, maybe throughout the process, what do you think are some of the key traits or maybe attitudes that help students succeed in this process of healing, of counseling? Maybe to be humble, or just to fight back to those stigmas, or what are things that you think are important or key to have a good development?
Most
healing process.
Yeah, most important is the relationship with the counselor. If they have a good relationship with the counselor, they're going to, be motivated to come consistently and work through some of those hard stuff that they're dealing with. But the other one is just the stage of change that they're at. Are they, ready for change? And if they are, that's their motivator. Is I want things to be different. Something I often tell people is I don't believe in good or bad choices. I believe in good or bad consequences. If you don't like your consequences, I suggest you change your choices. And so when people get tired of some of the negative consequences that they're being hit with, then that's when they're ready to make a change.
Yeah, that willingness to change. We were actually talking to Dr. Fabio in another podcast, and just the willingness and openness to be taught or to learn. And it's something you can never force on somebody. You can open the door, but they have to be willing to kind of come to the table about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You got more? I knew it. See?
I'm good, yeah.
I'm almost about to start speaking Spanish over here. I'm reading you so well, man. It's getting real.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe now that we are, I don't know if you have any other questions to ask.
Well, I was going to kind of open it up to you a little bit, just especially, serving here on campus. Anything that you kind of would want to share or kind of give us, whether it's about mental health or your faith journey or how those kind of intermingle in general. I'd love just kind of hear from you a little bit in that side.
Yeah, I think most important for students, stay connected. I think, coming to a college campus, we don't often realize, especially when you think of 18-year-olds, 17, 18-year-olds that are just graduating high school, and there's such this excitement to break away from their family system.
Freedom!
That they don't realize how hard that can be, too. You travel. You think of international students, especially they're traveling to a whole different country. This might be the first time. And so,
connections are very important.
Absolutely. And so I definitely say this is one of the main caveats, stay connected to some type of support system. Not that, there's a difference, obviously, in mental health and mental illness. And when we're talking about mental health, it's just our ability to cope well with stressors that are going on. Doesn't mean that every day I'm going to be 100% happy or 100% confident. It just means if I have good mental health, that I'm able to cope well that day with stressors. But that's more easily done if I have good supports around. I know we've heard a lot of stories from students who go to the Vine on Tuesdays. They find that to be such powerful moments for them. They love the Vine, so we get to hear, especially those that go share their testimony.
Oh, that's cool.
They come and share with us. So it's been great to have different resources like that, different opportunities for students to stay connected that way.
Interesting.
And that reaches back to kind of that topic and I love in these conversations, there's a theme that I feel like that rises. And there's a couple here, but one is resilience. I've kind of heard that come in and out in this conversation of, just learning and growing to be resilient. And community is huge. Actually, for freshmen, a lot of higher ed studies will show that, the greatest felt need of new students coming in is belonging, is to be that connected. And so, if you're a new student, even getting ready, I think sometimes there's a lot of stuff available. But I would encourage that junior, that senior, you haven't missed the boat. There's still opportunity to grow in community and be connected. But there is this intentionality. You got to kind of reach out in that sense too.
And something that I'm really willing to ask right now is, do you think you can actually apply all of the counseling to yourself now that you know that you have the knowledge? Do you think it's easy for you to coach yourself, advise yourself? Do you see yourself dealing with those problems easily, or you have to go to another counselor?
So there are times that counselors obviously have to seek counseling, but I think for the most part, at least for me, there are things that I can pull from different expertise. So if I'm navigating something challenging, a couple of years ago I was dealing, seems like pretty consistently I was having death in family. And so trying to, compartmentalize, be a provider, be a father, be a husband while also grieving, having the skill set to really navigate and learn, because I have the knowledge of, this is what you need to do to kind of navigate this in a healthy manner. Otherwise, there's no telling what I could have experienced. So sometimes having the knowledge is good. Now, I will say for my kids, from a father's perspective, maybe not so much, because I have a teenage daughter who's getting old. But there will be plenty of times where she'll come to me and she'll be like, I need my dad and not therapist dad.
Oh, nice.
Because when I try to give her advice, she's like, okay, you talk to me as a counselor. I need my dad. So.
That's funny. I always try to get Sarah to give me, I'm like, tell me, what's wrong with me? And she'll never give me, an actual, therapist answer. It's like,
oh, wow.
I'd have to go. I mean, I think she's just being nice, or trying to keep something from not happening or something. But yeah, she still hasn't told me what's wrong with me yet. I'm trying to figure it out. But
I don't work in my house. My wife and I are both counselors. So.
Oh, so you guys go back and forth, yeah?
Oh, I really wait for that day.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, I just love hearing. It's really cool, Nick. One of the things that we try to really show a value of in this time is just the story and the journey. Just hearing bits of your story from growing up in a household of chaos, to be now in a space in which you're getting a chance to speak life and order into people's spaces, I think is such a testimony of how God works and how He uses that and how He grows us through it, from this spot. We've seen that with Coach Russell. He talked about how, sports was an idol and now it's a place in which ministry happens, and what would you encourage maybe people in that journey, in those spaces that they're trying to figure out what their calling is, what they're going to do, and all that kind of stuff. But more or less, they're in a moment that doesn't look great or isn't awesome, or is that normal kind of life suffering that we have. What kind of word would you give them, and how you've even seen God work through your journey and some of that?
I would say it's a storm we have to go through. I think sometimes we're tempted to kind of wait it out or go around or find the easy path. But if you go through it, I promise you'll get on the other side a lot quicker. And, I can say for me, originally when I was at Campbellsville for my bachelor's, I was going to be a lawyer.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Are you good at arguing stuff?
Oh, most people probably. My wife would definitely probably say that. But I was dead set on becoming a lawyer, and then
That's cool.
I lost a friend to suicide, and I was at a crossroads at that time, and that's when I had a conversation with God on, reevaluating my life, and that's what led me to a place of helping people in a different manner.
Wow, man! If you don't mind me asking, what was that conversation like? Just to kind of give people a glimpse of that honest conversation you had with the Lord in that moment.
You asked earlier if I was angry. This was a really close friend of mine at the time, and so I was angry at that time. I blamed myself for not being aware of what they were navigating through, and so I asked God, was there a reason I missed it? Was there something that I did wrong? Why was I being punished? And what did my future look like? Because it was a really hard moment for me, oddly enough, we had just moved back to Kentucky, and I was looking for work, and a facility had called, and so had offered me a job, and I was like, I've never really thought about working in this field, and so I prayed about it, and I don't know, something just clicked, and it's like God spoke out and said, this is the path that you need to go on to helping others.
Wow.
And so that's what led me down the path that I'm on.
Man, what an incredible story. I just love people to, we don't always get, really kind of how you said, you don't know what that person went through to get where they are, and we do play the avoidance game. We're much more about avoiding something, circumnavigating something. That's not even how God works. Like, he doesn't really, when I think of the story of the Samaritan at the well, Jesus had this chance to really circumnavigate Samaria, not go a place that Jews would have been. Instead, he went straight through, and that, this person who had great need was met with compassion. And I love that maybe sometimes the places that we're wanting to avoid are the very places that God is going to lead us through to not only meet our needs, but the needs of others. And I just love that, man. And so we love to try to keep this. There's so much we could talk about. The conversation kind of nice and short, which is hard for me. I'm a preachy kind of guy. But, Nick, if you were going to leave a table tip for people today, something to marinate on, something to chew on, what would you leave us today?
You have actually given a lot of tables.
I know, there's been a lot. Yeah, we've had actually like a smorgasbord. What's the thing called when you have crackers and meat and all that? A charcuterie, right? Charcuterie board? Yeah, that's what we got from you already. But if you're going to highlight one or maybe something you haven't had a chance to share yet.
Man, I would just say slow down. Just slow down, slow life down. I think sometimes we don't realize, because if you really think about it, especially you're in your doctorate journey too now, so much of our life is spent trying to accomplish these goals that it's not till usually we retire or get to the end that we try to take in that fresh air and enjoy it. And by then we're on the latter part of our life, and so all that's going to come along, but just slow down and enjoy the moment. I think that's why it's called the present. It's the gift of right now. The future is going to be there, and you're going to make choices to get there for sure. But I would just say slow down and enjoy the moment.
Man, good word. And Nick, thank you so much. I encourage any students listening, or you get a chance to check this out. Of course, counseling services are available, but there's some other cool opportunities, even like the Fathered by God study and some other things that you guys do. So, man, take advantage of that and be a part of it. And so thanks so much. And until next time, catch you at a table. We'll go feast on what you've given us.
Thanks for having me.
This podcast is brought to you by Campus Ministry at Campbellsville University, where faith, testimony, and dialogue come together. Stay connected, stay inspired, and we'll see you at the table next time.